How do you define the Ghent Film Festival? What aspects of your festival makes it different from other festivals?
The Ghent Film Festival is Belgium's biggest general film festival. General in the meaning that all genres, all formats are possible at our festival. But at a certain stage, I think mid-80s, we felt the need to rethink the festival a bit and to find a focus. And since there had already been some co-productions with the music festival, which takes place just before us in September, with whom we co-produced some screenings of silent films with live music. The idea was there to focus on film music and put the composers of the films central at our festival, which was very, very new at that stage. We were the first festival to focus on to have an annual and recurring focus on composers, and we had the honor to welcome composers like Piovani or Georges Delrue or Ennio Morricone, and then in 2000, we were the first festival ever where Hans Zimmer did a big concert of all his music. And that was really the start of a new era within the festival. It was the start of the World Soundtrack Academy, which is an academy of composers, but also film music professionals, agents, music supervisors, also some journalists, bringing them together. And in the meantime, we've had. Last year, we had our 20th anniversary edition of the World Soundtrack Awards ceremony, a ceremony in which this Academy awards composers for film and television, for the music they make for film and for television, songs. We try to each year also have an award for discovery and an upcoming talent of composer. So music is really what sets us apart from all the other festivals in the world. But of course, the biggest program, the main focus of the festival is still presenting new films in Belgian premieres, films. Some of them will have a Belgian distributor, so we'll have a sort of avant-premiere at the festival, and we'll get a release after the festival. But the biggest part, and that's really where the festival once started in the 70s, is to bring films to Ghent that do not have a Belgian distributor. And that is still the main focus in the film programming.
So if, for example, there is a filmmaker who is not a good connection between his film and music, so you will not, for example, pick his works for your festival?
No. Actually, we have various sections within our program. There is one which is called which is the official competition, and there we have an award for best film and best music. So the films that we choose for this selection really need to have a score. It can vary a lot. It can be an original score written by composer especially for the film, but it could also be existing music that is used, or sometimes it's not music but it's more sound design. So it's actually for the soundtrack in the broad sense, not only music composition. But apart from that, in the rest of the program, we will definitely also try to have to have other films. It's also very interesting as a music festival to think about, as a film festival with a focus on music, I have to be correct, to think about the way a filmmaker uses the music in the film. Sometimes a film can be much more effective when it uses music in well-chosen moments of the film and not throughout the whole film. Sometimes it's even better to have a film with no music at all, which is also a film that could possibly end up in our film program. Of course, it would not end up in our competition, since there we have this award for the Georges Delrue Award for Best Music. But No, we try to find a good balance.
This year, your festival has a special event on Greek cinema and music. Can you say more about it? Why you have selected these new important figures from Greek for your festival, Theo Angelopoulos?
Well, our festival. So music is really the recurring focus, which we have every year. Apart from that, we try to have a year-specific focus also, and that's most of the times it's a country. Like last year, we focused on German cinema. The year before on Spanish cinema, and so in that vein, we decided to have a focus on Greek cinema this year, and the main reason why we chose to have it this year is that the Greek composer Eleni Karaindrou was very much on top of our list as one of the composers that we really wanted to have in Ghent and to put on, to give the stage, is Eleni Karaindrou, and she accepted this year, and that's why we decided, well, then we have to do this year the focus on Greek cinema as well. So we'll have on the one side film programming. The complete program consists of something like 120 feature films, and we will have a Greek focus with some I believe it 13 or 14 titles, the complete oeuvre of Theo Angelopoulos, the filmmaker with whom Eleni Karaindrou cooperated, of course, a lot of times. Most of his films have been scored by Ms. Karaindrou. And then we will also have, hopefully, we're still making this program, select some 10 recent new Greek films. That's in the film programming. And apart from that, we will have the concert which will feature the music, of course, of Karaindrou. She will be there. She will be in Ghent, but also Theodorakis, Vangelis, and Evantika Revoutsika, who is a Greek composer who won the Discovery Award at the World Soundtrack Awards some years ago, and she also will be in Ghent. And then Eleni Karaindrou will get her. So there will be 2 nights, 2 concerts in which music of her will be played. One in the Greek, great Greek composers, as we entitled the concert, but also the day afterwards in the World Soundtrack Award ceremony. This evening is always part ceremony, so award ceremony, part concert, and on that night, Eleni Karaindrou will get her Lifetime Achievement Award, and there will also be some music played. Some of her music will be performed there by the Brussels Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Dirk Bosse.
Theopolis works are rife or full of mythological and literary references to the Greeks. So will you have a kind of panels or exhibitions to explain these aspects to the audience?
No exhibitions, but we have just finished a small publication, which is in Dutch, but which highlights all the films from Theo Angelopoulos, and also places them in, or gives a lot of background, also political background on the Greek political history, and places those films in this timeline that we made for this brochure. It's actually, we've just launched it yesterday, the Angelopoulos program and this brochure. It'll be printed in the next few days, but there will be no exhibition. Unfortunately, we used to have, years ago, big exhibitions. We did an exhibition on Jacques Tati and on Ingmar Bergman, on Scorsese, on Stanley Kubrick. Unfortunately, the last few years, because also the venue where we used to do that is no longer available, and that's one of the main issues. And also, of course, the budget. These things cost a lot of money. So no exhibition, but we will try, of course, to to give some background to our audience as to the films, especially the ones from Theo Angelopoulos, because they need some kind of you need some reference a bit, which will be done in this brochure. And we are also still inviting some filmmakers, and also are investigating some of the people that Angelopoulos worked with, and if they would be able to come to Ghent, then of course we would also do some Q&As after the film, or perhaps have a talk with these people in a separate event.
I imagine you have a selection committee for your festival. What is the relationship between you as the festival director and the committee? Who has the final words on the selection? Is it you, or is it, for example, the committee? Can a programmer pick a film himself, or does it need to be approved by you, for example, or a committee?
I am the program director, so I am in charge of the program, the film program and the music program. So it is I who make the final decisions, but it's always a collaborative effort. You know, we try to talk as much. I just came out of a meeting with the music program committee, where we discuss the opportunities, the possibilities, where we see also for the music, of course, which parts are available, which scores can be played by. For example, we are now working on an album, on a CD album with film music, which will be recorded in August. But at that time, we probably will it will only be possible to have a reduced sized audience on stage to do this recording. So we have to make a lot of choices, and this is always a collaborative effort, you know. And also in the film programming, it's also there. We have a few people from outside our organization that will watch a lot of the films that are sent to us, that will also tip us some films, and then we have a few people inside the festival in our team, with whom I try to talk as much as possible about the films, and then see. So it's not only my favorite films that end up in the program. I don't think that's the way a film program works. You know, I try to be as open-minded as possible and listen to my colleagues as well.
And how do you know about new films? Is it through the sales agent, or do you know through the submission of filmmakers? How does this work?
It's a combination of everything, you know. It's a combination of, we have a possibility for filmmakers to send in their films through an entry form that's on our website, so they can suggest their own film. The deadline for this is August 1st. But apart from that, we each year we go to the Berlinale, to Cannes Film Festival, which is especially the Cannes Film Festival is always a very special moment in the making of our program. But of course, we watch a lot of film there, but we also have a lot of meetings with filmmakers, sometimes with producers that will tip us new films that are not presented, or that possibly during the Cannes Film Festival are not ready yet, but that are, you know, to be released in the weeks after Cannes, or that might end up in. We close our program very late. You know, we announce our program September 22nd, and we really close it a few days before that, to try to have as relevant as possible program, and also as new as possible. You know, each year we also succeed. I don't know if we will keep on succeeding, but let's try. Also to have some films that are presented in Venice, which is also in September and August, September, and even some titles that are sometimes presented in Toronto are still find their way in our program.
And in terms of films, meaning and films. Are you looking for example, if a filmmaker present a very controversial films on a very controversial topic, for example, if he makes a good film on defense of capital punishment or Trump, for example, will you accept it, or are you looking for example, a very right films in terms of message or in terms of social implication?
No, we are open to, as I told you before, we're a general festival, so we're open to all sorts of film, to all sorts of stories. And I think actually in the last few years, especially with the selection of the opening night's film, we've been able to put forward some themes that are really very hot issues at that moment. You know, we opened once with I, Daniel Blake by Ken Loach, who was there. We opened with Inseriated a few years ago. We opened with Girl, a Belgian film on a trans person. So no, very different subjects are possible. You know, it's not really the subject that counts for us. It's, of course, sometimes it is, to be honest. But first of all, we try to watch the film with as little knowledge about the project as possible, and just sit and as the general audience would be in our festival, you know, let the film come to us and yeah, sometimes we're guided by the gut feeling, you know, that they have for a certain film. Definitely.
And do you have quota to meet in terms of film regions? For example, do you have to meet certain or number of films from Asia, certain number of films from Europe, or you are open when there is no quota?
It depends a bit, you know. If we would, we're still waiting for Europe to launch this call for support to festivals. We have had this support a few years, and there you have to meet this criterion of to have at least 70 or 75% European films, but also co-productions count. So we still had a lot of Asian films that are co-produced by a French company, and so you can still have them in the Europe numbers. But at this stage, no, we don't have any European support, so we're totally free in programming. There's no quota whatsoever. We try, of course, to have a very diverse program. So if we have at a certain stage the opportunity between two films that are you know, at the same level to us, but for example, the one is a French film and the other one would be a Hungarian film, for example, and we already had like 10 French films, but no Hungarian film, then of course we would go for the Hungarian film. So it's also trying to find a balance. Also, of course, in the gender aspect of the filmmakers, you know, we try to have this balance. But of course, since we are we're not a production company. We're only representing what is available and what we can present. But of course, in our competition, for example, we try to maintain a 50-50% equality between male or female directors. And as to production countries, we try to have as diverse as possible. So we will definitely try to have films from Asia, from Latin America, Africa, which is not easy to get access to good films, but we try to have them. But of course, it would be wrong for me to tell you otherwise. I think the main focus in our program will be European films.
You mentioned that Cannes Film Festival is very important for your selection process. So does it mean that, for example, authorship or having big names is very important for you Are you
No,
looking
because
for?
I don't think that Cannes is only about big names. You have this big competition, but there are a lot of other sections in Cannes as well, like the Quinzaine, like the Semaine de la Critique, like Certain Regards, where you have these new voices and new talents. And I also there we try to find a good mix of the bigger names, the also our program as to how would we say that in English? As to we try to have a broad program, that is open for the experienced cinephile, the people who are really into hardcore cinema, cinephily.
Yeah.
But also the more mainstream audience. So we each year try to also find some films that offer the opportunity for an audience to access cinema. Of course, we will never present Fast and the Furious and stuff like that. We'll never go there. But we will try to find also some easier access titles for a broad audience. But at the same time, we will have like last year we had Pedro Costa, which is not for the average or not directly for an average viewer. You have to have some background, or Hong Sang-soo or titles like that.
And then my last question: yesterday was the reopening of the cinema in Belgium. So, in regard of things that, what do you think of this year festival? Will you plan to have a kind of hybrid festival, physical events? What do you think of this year?
I don't have, of course, the ability to predict the future, but at this stage we are working on a 100% physical edition. We might still have a VOD platform, perhaps. I'm not sure. We have to decide that in the coming weeks. But we will definitely go and do our utmost best to have the physical edition. Because we were very lucky last year. We were just in between two waves in October. So we were able to pull off the festival as we had planned it. We didn't have... There were some adaptations because of the curfew that was imposed mid-festival. But the second lockdown in Belgium came up just a few. I think the weekend or the Monday after our festival, immediately after the festival, there was the second lockdown. For this year, we are thinking that things would have to go very, very wrong if we would be in the same or even worse position. So we are very optimistic about the future. We're very optimistic about the next festival, that we will be able to organize it in some kind of way that looks like a normal festival. There might still be the mouth masks. There might still be some reduced capacity, but we have good hopes that at least we will be able to have the physical edition. And one thing that we missed last year very, very much was the meetings. We had meetings, we had filmmakers, we had quite a few filmmakers coming over to Ghent last year and present their films. But a lot of the networking, formal, informal networking moments had to be missed between audience members, but also between filmmakers, between audience and filmmakers. And we are very much hoping to be able to focus on that again this year.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. I wonder if you have anything you want to add that you think might be useful for the audience?
At this stage, our program is really, really, really a work in progress. In a normal situation, we would have already had the Cannes Film Festival, would already know or had at least a better idea of what the program would look like. Now, of course, we still have to wait until July, and I think probably it will be a lot of people obviously probably will have will take holidays after the Cannes Film Festival. So I'm hoping that we would get confirmations on the films mid-August, end August at the latest. It'll be different, but we'll manage.